What's going on, guys? It's like 2 in the morning and I'm getting my drums ready for the show and figured I'd take a minute to talk to you about them. So when I was growing up, I was a huge fan of Pearl drums. I liked Pearl Masters and the reference. That was kind of like the pinnacle drums for me, and that's what I always wanted. And I started to work at Guitar Center, and the really cool thing about Guitar Center is the amount of knowledge you will pick up. You'll have different musicians coming in there, so you're going to pick up new chops, you're going to pick up different techniques, you're going to have guys of all different skill sets and different styles, and it's pretty cool in that regard. But Guitar Center as a company is extremely passionate about ensuring that their employees are knowledgeable about their product lines. And it's not enough just to know the different product lines, they want you to know why the product lines are different and what sets them apart from one another so that you can custom tailor products to a customer's needs. That kind of serves a really cool purpose in regards to helping you decide as somewhat of a consumer and an employee what better suits your needs. So I always thought that Pearl was it for me. And then I started to learn about DW drums. Now I researched everything that we sold, whether it was Yamaha drums, which I learned was the most recorded drums in history, and understandably so. They have an extremely tight, focused sound. They're very nice. It's just not what I was looking for. And when I started learning about DW, the first thing that caught my attention is they're American made. They've been handmade in Oxnard, California since 1972, which, like I said, that caught my attention. So now we're talking my language. Then I started to learn about everything else that went into a DW drum. Now you would think that there's not a lot that would differentiate one drum manufacturer from another. But DW, the amount of effort they put into researching and developing and evolving their products is second to none. So what continued piquing my interest was what DW calls a reference note. So essentially what DW does is they'll take a shell before they put all this other shit on it, before they put the lugs on there, before they finish it, when it's literally just a wooden shell, they mic it up, they tap the side of it, and they determine what note that shell is. And then, you can see inside there, they stamp it. This one is an F sharp. So then they'll take it and they'll put it up on the shelf with all the other similar drums. So all the other 8-inch toms, all the 10-inch toms, 12, whatever the hell it is, they throw it up on the shelf. When it comes time to actually assemble the drum set, they will literally go through and they will pick out all of the toms that will complement each other musically. So essentially you're basically building a drum set like a scale. The cool thing about that is if down the road you decide to add a drum to the drum set, you know you're going to be able to get a drum, a shell, that complements the ones you already have and musically fits. The other super cool thing about that is you get rid of sympathetic frequencies. Now what a sympathetic frequency is when the pitch of your snare drum is similar to the pitch of one of your toms. You'll strike that tom, the vibration of the head will cause the head of the snare to vibrate as well, which will cause your snare wires to vibrate, and then you get that really annoying rattle. So when you're able to change the note of the snare drum that you buy to suit the toms that you have, you can completely get around that. And it's a super simple concept that I'm amazed that nobody else had ever come up with. So, other cool thing about DW drums is that they do not drill into the shell for their mounts. If you see this kind of has a wobble to it, that's because this is called an STM mount, suspension tom mount, and it just kind of wraps around the lugs without drilling into the shell. The less you drill into the shell, the more resonant that shell is. The more it rings out, the more pure it sounds. You don't want a lot of bullshit drilled into it. Less is more. So this particular drum set, this setup, is what you'll see on Saturday. My original setup was significantly larger. My DW setup is actually larger than this. I started out playing with 2 bass drums, 10 toms, and 46 cymbals. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. I played at the Machine Shop one show. The sound engineer, John Tanner, said, "Dave, people are going to expect you to be good." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, when you come into a show with a drum set this big, people are going to expect you to be good." He said, "If you come in there with a smaller set and you play the way you do, you will impress people a hell of a lot more." I said, "Okay." He said, "And it makes my job easier." Okay, that makes sense. Fewer microphones. Fewer microphones means less time. Less time setting up means more time getting the levels right. More time getting the levels right means he gets to make me sound better. So it was a bit of a massive adjustment period for me, going from a huge drum set down to this. Now what this basically is, they call this a 4-piece setup. This is basically a jazz setup. You've got one rack tom, one floor tom, which is technically not a floor tom, it's suspended, a bass drum, and a snare drum. Now my whole DW setup is based on this still. The difference is I would have 2 more drums over here and 1 more drum on the other side of this, and then that's my full setup. When I'm playing just for leisure, I'll have all of that set up. It just gives me more at my disposal to play around with. But when it comes time for business, this is it. This is a just scaled down, strictly business, how I get shit done. Now everything that was recorded on our album was done with the full setup, so there was some adjustments that were required for me to get back to this and make this work. Now the cool thing about this setup is these drums were literally built 100% to my specifications. Now the cool thing about DW is if you work for Guitar Center, they will sell you their drums below cost. That's a super cool thing. I literally was able to buy this drum set for less money than it would cost Guitar Center to put this drum set on their showroom. It's good marketing because if I play DW, I'm probably going to try to sell DW, so it works in DW's favor. Now with that said, one thing that makes my particular drum set unique is there's an internally mounted microphone in my bass drum. It's in a shock mount. What a shock mount is it suspends the microphone so vibrations aren't transferred to the microphone. I literally take a microphone cable, I plug it into a port in the side of my bass drum, and we're good to go. That's already mic'd. I don't have to put a mic in front of it. I don't have to fit another microphone inside there. It's got a mic. Now you can actually get your toms with that. You can get a snare drum with it, but it just didn't really seem necessary for me. This I liked because I got sick of going and playing shows where they had shitty bass drum microphones, and this just lended more consistency for me. Now beyond that, like I said, DW's evolved a lot since I got mine, and I'm not unhappy with mine. I still love them. And at this point, with DW continuing to evolve their product lines and the technology that goes into their drums, I still can't see myself playing anything other than DW. But with that said, I'm hoping you get to see this on Saturday. Hope to see you guys out there. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a good one.